This video is brought to you by Keeps. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire upper
Oh,
echelon
good.
community.
Oh,
All right,
good.
today I
Oh,
want
good.
to
Oh,
talk
good. Oh,
about the Sweet Baby Inc. disaster, a story that gained widespread media traction over the
good.
past
True.
couple of weeks because it feels like pretty much everyone talking about this is deliberately missing the point.
Okay.
And a lot of people are talking past each other in a
Okay.
way where they get to stoke the fires of resentment in their own audience, but they do so at the expense of pretty much any meaningful outreach to the other side. Here's
All
the
right.
background.
Let's hear.
For a few months now, maybe longer, possibly longer, but I wasn't aware of it back then, so I can't speak to that. There's been this theory
Yeah, nobody really knew of this company until fucking like half a month ago.
going around about a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated. I did my own video on that theory a little while ago, specifically featuring Sweet Baby Inc. and also discussing the general trend of narrative development in video games and the concept of going woke with an effort to actually define the term instead of using it as an all encompassing boogeyman, which
I think people generally know what going woke means. Um, and the issue that people have with it is forcing it into the games. I don't think people actually have an issue with black characters or gay characters, but when it is like constantly pushed in your face that they're black or that they're gay or that they're female or on the opposite side as well, if it's a female based game and there's male characters that are like really in your face about being male, I don't think people like that. And I think that a lot of people agree with that. I don't think it's wrong to say that people know what going woke means, right?
in my opinion went pretty well, by the way. Much more recently, however, the discourse surrounding Sweet Baby Inc. has basically metastasized into something entirely different.
Also, by the way, just in case anybody actually watches this, why is it so fucking loud outside? What is going on? Those characters being in games is not a bad thing. There are lots of female characters that are really good. There are lots of characters that happen to be gay that are really good. Like, them being those things is not bad. There are lots of black characters, brown characters, Asian characters that are really good. But those are typically characters that are not forced in your face that they are those things. People don't give a shit. People just want a good character. They don't care what color or gender or what they do in the bedroom. Like, that doesn't matter to the story.
And the whole thing got a lot more messy. The first thing I want
To the actual average gamer, right? Not to everybody on Twitter. To everybody on Twitter, it's a real thing. But to real people, it's not.
to do here, like the very first thing, is define a term. Everyone watching this has likely already heard of that term, but not everyone knows where it comes from. And believe you me when I say this, I don't know if there could ever possibly be a better example of this term indirect action than the situation involving Sweet Baby Incorporated.
Okay.
The Streisand effect, that's the term. And loosely speaking, it refers to a situation where Barbara Streisand attempted to suppress a photograph of her Malibu home, thereby causing that photograph to gain widespread notoriety in the media as well as publicity. It's actually
I haven't actually heard of this, but that makes complete sense. Right? Because people take something that's happening and then blow it up all over fucking. 2003. This would have been all over like the fucking newspapers and shit, right?
a fascinating story by itself. A photographer who provided photos to scientists for the purpose of documenting coastal erosion had taken aerial photographs of this mansion and then distributed the photographs online, spurring Barbara Streisand to sue him on that basis for $50 million.
Which is a lot of fucking money for 2003.
Funnily enough, at the time of her lawsuit, the photo had been downloaded, I think, just 6 times, 2 of those times being her own lawyers for the case, which means that a photograph receiving just 4 public downloads became the subject of a $50 million lawsuit by a famous celebrity, leading to a now immortalized pop culture saying where that celebrity.
Yeah, so basically what he's saying is issues don't exist until they're in the public. Or sorry. Issues don't exist until an issue is made out of it. That is what he is saying, right? But I don't think this matters to the Sweet Baby Inc. issue. I don't think it actually has anything to do with that. Because this has been an issue long before anybody knew who the fuck Sweet Baby Inc. was.
His actual name is forever synonymous with fucking up so bad you actually create the problem you were trying to suppress, which
Yeah.
is kind of fantastic. Sweet Baby Inc. has basically executed a modern day version of that precise maneuver, which is equal parts hilarious and also pathetic. So, what happened? Well, for starters, we need to know exactly what Sweet Baby Incorporated actually does, but I'll make it as brief as I can. From their website, quote, founded in 2018, Sweet Baby Incorporated is a narrative development and consultation studio based in Montreal and working around the globe. Our mission is to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry.
I don't know. I am I wrong in saying that it doesn't need to be diversified? Like maybe I'm coming from a place where like that doesn't matter to me. Maybe it matters to a lot of people. I just don't think it matters to people who are actually playing the games. Right? Like let's actually think about it for a second. How many black or gay character or not black specifically, how many people like characters of color or characters of a different sex or characters who identified in any certain way were in Wrath of the Lich King? Right, I can't think of any either. Um, and yet Wrath of the Lich King was a cultural phenomenon. People didn't care about it then, and people don't really care about it now. Like this whole thing that you need, and it's the issue of having the idea of needing to insert is the actual issue, not the fact that the characters are in it. Because if the characters were in it in a natural way, people wouldn't care. They just wouldn't. GTA 5, one of the main characters was black. Nobody gave a fuck, besides maybe some weird people on Twitter. But nobody gave a fuck that one of the main three characters was a black person. Because it didn't feel like he was in there forcibly.
We aim to make games more engaging, more fun, more meaningful, and more inclusive for everyone.
I agree, they should be more fun and more meaningful. But the way you do that is not self insertions, and it's not forcing things to be in the game for the sake of those things of being in the game. Again, nobody has an issue with black characters or female characters. Like, the same thing happens in the movie industry. Like, you look at Ghostbusters, people hated Ghostbusters, the all female crew, and then the studio said, well, it's because they're female characters. Well, no, it was just a bad fucking movie. Like that's it.
End quote. Further down, quote again, we believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems.
You
Sweet
don't.
Baby Incorporated provides narrative consultation at any stage of development, boasting a talented team with vetted industry experience to best bring your story to life. End quote. And then lastly, it's a lot, I know, but we need this foundation before understanding how the train completely
Sure.
derailed. Lastly, quote, we believe that representation is key to connecting players and audiences, and we offer a few ways to help
It's not. And the examples I just gave prove that.
your team and project gain the perspective needed to make it happen.
It's not.
We're part of an inclusive and knowledgeable community of diverse consultants able to cover a wide range of cultural and sensitivity topics. Our approach leads with the creation of joy in marginalized players and seeks
I think WoW does this fairly good, recently anyway. With the addition, with the changes in the character creation, so you can like now be a black blood elf, which is fine. Who the fuck cares? I don't care. Most people who play WoW don't give a shit. But if it makes those people happy, then sure. It's not forced in the game for some weird agenda. Like regular people don't care. It's just cool. You can be a black blood elf. Cool. When they added in the more black centric hairstyles for the female human, most people didn't care about that. It was just another way to make Um, it was just another form of character customization that those people could use. It wasn't forced. And honestly, I think it was a good change because the more customization you have, the better. Simple as that.
Needs to be additive rather than strictly corrective. We do consultation,
I fully agree with that. It needs to be additive than corrective. The issue is that they don't.
cultural consultation,
My understanding, anyways. So we'll see like the rest of
sensitivity
the
and
video.
inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment, and more. End quote. That basically covers it. Sweet Baby Inc. is a narrative consultation firm. They help modify video game stories to be more diverse, inclusive, and sensitive, while partnering up with a pretty wide range of very, very prominent.
The other issue is too is that not every game needs to be sensitive, right? Like, I think people are pretty upset with where WoW is right now because WoW is acting too sensitive, and people don't want that. People want World of Warcraft to have more Warcraft and less feelings. I think that's probably the general consensus of the people who care about the story anyway. And even if you don't care about the story, you would still argue that the World of Warcraft should have more actual war as opposed to everybody being their fucking friends. Right?
Prominent developers and publishers. Here's the thing, that's been pretty well established for quite some time, and regardless of anyone's personal feelings about it or speculations about how much influence the company actually exerts on the projects that they're involved in, they've persisted for years now, bouncing from contract to contract. Enter Steam. Steam, as most people will probably know, is the largest video game distribution platform on Earth. You could possibly argue against that because of mobile game platforms or something, but that's a joke, and I would laugh at you.
I don't think mobile game platforms have anything on Steam.
Steam is the premier PC gaming store, and one of the features it offers is the curator function. In essence, this is just a group of games that you can put together. They can be listed together for pretty much any reason at all. But in this particular case, the tool was used to create a list of games where Sweet Baby Incorporated was involved directly in their development.
I also think that this is a super weird thing to do, right? Like, this should strictly be for. I don't know. Obviously, if you want things to change, then you need to boycott those things to change and you need to vote with your wallet. But at the same time, I don't know. I just don't. Maybe it's hard to say if this is the correct thing to do, but man, I don't know.
Specifically so that people could avoid buying and playing those titles. Now, at first, this was a relatively small group of people. Yes, people know about Sweet Baby. Yes, they are deeply unpopular with a pretty large chunk of the general player base right
They
now.
didn't know about Sweet Baby until recently, though,
For
right?
the most part, people just really don't care. Well, that all changed when
people don't
Sweet
give a
Baby
shit.
employees began to aggressively try to get the Steam group taken down, sparking off an incredible demonstration of the Streisand effect in action, which catapulted the topic to mainstream gaming media websites and pushed over 250,000 people so far, just as of the making of this video, to follow the very same group that they were trying desperately to suppress. Good job, guys. All right, time for the video sponsor. YouTube's not the most reliable income source. It's great, don't get me wrong. Other platforms honestly don't come close, relatively speaking. But the thing I'm really talking about here is income security, which is provided by sponsors such as Keeps. The value of that can't really be overstated. They effectively make it possible for me to do this full time in the first place. All of it boils down to demographics. That's the golden relationship between an advertiser and a channel, which in this particular case is about as good as it could possibly get. Most of you are men, ages 18 to 45. That's just pretty much all of you.
Yeah.
Keeps is a hair loss prevention product with more 5-star reviews than any current competitor. You can order and get treated directly from your own home for about half the cost when compared to other products. And they offer generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss treatments on the entire market. They also have a 2-in-1 gel that combines both of them. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/u.
I'm curious if this stuff actually works. I don't have any desire to try it, but is this just repackaged Rogaine? Like, is that all it is?
EG, or click the link down below in the description. That's keeps.com/UEG for a special offer right now, with a link down below in the description. Keeps can help prevent, in some cases actually reverse the process of hair loss with treatments that come very conveniently, by the way, right to your door every 3, 6, or 12 months. They also have a variety of additional products like shampoo, conditioner, etc., all of which are high quality. with a very long history of satisfied customers, making them the best option in the current market. So, big thank you to Keeps for sponsoring the channel. Back on task. There's a couple of very good examples here, but the main one would probably be Chris Kindred, a writer at Sweet Baby Incorporated, who said, quote, report the fuck out of this group and report the creator since he loves his account so much, end quote. That's
Yeah, that would need to be dealt with in a very specific way. I think that is a horrible way to get anything you want.
obviously a breach from trying
Not that they really care because they're used to getting what they want, right?
to even
But
just
it's so easy to create a fucking Twitter hate mob when everybody that follows you is on your side.
report the thing that they don't like and push people to brigade another person and cancel them for doing something that the company doesn't like. I'm sure everyone can obviously guess what happened as a result, but for those that can't, this effort completely backfired.
Yeah.
The Steam group began to go viral in a whole bunch of different online communities. The number of players engaging with the topic skyrocketed, and then, as if the lesson had not already been learned, major gaming media publications started to jump on board, desperately trying to debunk things and play defense for this company as they torpedoed their own reputation.
Trying to defend major companies is always the weirdest thing to me, and please don't do that, man. Like, they don't give a fuck about you, they don't care about you.
A whole slew of articles came out.
All they care about is your money. Just don't. They're large corporations. Like,
Out in rapid succession, such as this one.
would you simp for fucking McDonald's? Like, it's the same thing. Don't.
Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what some
Actually, a
gamers
lot of
think
people
it
do.
does, from Kotaku. Or this one. A company called Sweet Baby Inc. has become the target of anti-woke gamers because it offers consultancy work, an industry standard service that's been normal for years. That's from PC Gamer. There's more. Nathan Grayson, the Mary
PC Gamer
Sue,
puts out a
etc.,
lot of shit,
etc.
right?
Let
Like,
me just read a few
let's be
snippets
honest.
now to demonstrate the type of way, I guess, that these articles are constructed. Quote from Kotaku. Sweet Baby Inc. isn't forcing diversity, it's happening naturally. Sweet Baby Inc. is
It's
a
not.
narrative design company, meaning
It's not, because you can take a very quick look at games recently and you can tell that there's forced diversity. And people only have the issue with forced diversity. People don't have an issue with traditional diversity. If you make a character and you write it and it's black, people don't care. If you don't have a black character and then you force one to be in it, that's the issue. That is what forced diversity is. If you create a character and then make it gay because you don't have gay characters in it, and then them being gay is their entire written character, that is the issue. People don't care if there's a character and they are gay and there's maybe a joke about it in the game or movie once or twice. Not a joke about it, but them playing fun. People don't care about that. Regular people don't care.
most of its work is focused on writing stories and dialogue, they are not a DEI consultancy firm. That means they ensure a game's plot points make logical sense and are satisfying to players, and the characters speak and behave in consistent ways.
Yeah, of course they do. They behave consistently in the way that they were written. And when it's forced diversity, the entire way that they're written is their identity of what and who they are. So if it's a black character, they're written in such a way that they are the black character. Does that make sense?
Narrative designers may also provide a final round of polish like a Hollywood script doctor. For example,
Yeah, so if they don't like something because it's going against what this random fucking firm believes in, then they'll change it.
the team worked on Suicide Squad long after the story was written, and even then they joined just to write in-game ads, audio logs, and NPC barks. CEO Kim Belair tells me over video call, end quote. Here's one from PC Gamer, quote, Sweet Baby employees maintain that, overall, their job is to provide assistance to companies that already want to improve already existing diverse elements.
Yeah, remember that Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't just force themselves into a company. That's literally not how this works. That's not how anything works. They're hired by the parent company. On the flip side, they're hired by the parent company, like not parent company. They're hired by the company that brings them on because they're scared. If they don't do it, they're going to lose player base. Which actually the inverse is true.
As per the company's CEO, Kim Belair,
And if this is actually a huge issue, we're going to see changes.
Perspective is never that we're coming in and injecting diversity. For the most part, it's the reverse. It's that a company has created a character that they want to make that character more representative and more interesting, end quote. Hopefully we can see what they're going for here, but in case you can't,
Well, yeah, because that's the big thing, and obviously, large companies would want, uh, large companies would want their characters to be, what the fuck am I trying to say? They would want their characters to be as like welcoming as possible, right?
the argument being made is that Sweet Baby Incorporated does not actually influence gaming narratives. This flurry of very, very defensive media articles center on
Well, if,
the assertion that the company doesn't do what gamers think it does. That's literally the title from Kotaku. But what if I told you there's more to the story?
by the way, most of these journalistic publications are only focusing on this because it's the big thing, and if they go against the grain, they'll get more clicks. Like, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, I'm just saying that is what it is.
What if I told you that these authoritative articles, pushed out at the 11th hour after the company Streisanded themselves, were missing a lot of context on how things actually look? To explain this, we need to focus on Kim Belair, who is the founder and CEO of Sweet Baby, and also the primary mouthpiece addressing the media right now in defense of the company's reputation. First thing, Kotaku directly cites Kim Belair
Of course, they're going to defend their own company. Like, holy fuck.
and states that Sweet Baby only worked on Suicide Squad, quote, long after the story was written, end quote. However, looking at IMDb, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. In the official credits, we see names, three names, Grant K. Roberts, Amy Lee
Okay.
Shaw, and Kim Belair.
Okay.
Grant Roberts is a lead script writer, Amy Shaw was a junior writer, and Kim Belair was
Okay.
a regular writer. Kim Belair is obviously, as we've already stated multiple times, the CEO and founder, but Grant Roberts works as a narrative at Sweet Baby, meaning that a Sweet Baby employee held the position of lead script writer on a project where the CEO claims they came in long after the story was written.
Well, yeah, because again, those journalistic publications are going to go against the grain because it generates clicks, which gives them ad revenue. Like, this isn't, you don't need to be fucking Einstein to figure this out. Whether they're correct or not, they're going to go against the grain because that's click generation. Like, they also assume that most people are not going to go out of their way to fact check this. Like, that is their assumption because most people are fucking lazy and most people take journalistic publications at face value. There's a reason they continue to do this.
And only wrote in-game.
There's a reason, not taking political sides, but there's a reason both Fox and CNN are as big as they are. Because people don't fact check stuff. And again, regardless of your political siding, both Fox and CNN get shit wrong constantly.
Ads, audio logs, and NPC bar.
And also, by the way, so do private publications. Private publications are still biased and they still get shit wrong, right?
Forgive me for not quite understanding why someone who did tiny snippets of basically nothing on a project long after the story was written holds the official title of lead script writer. Next, we need to look at a relatively obscure YouTube channel called AC Sisterhood. On this channel, there is an interview with Kim Belair where she is pointedly asked a question by the host. Quote, are you able to influence how many or in what manner women and minorities are included?
So she was a writer on Valhalla and Syndicate. I haven't played Syndicate, I have played Valhalla. I didn't feel that in Valhalla, from what I remember anyways, but I just didn't like Valhalla because of the game systems, not because of any sort of forced diversity.
Included in the planning stage of a game? Or can you only give feedback on existing characters already in the script? End quote. Remember, PC Gamer is running defense here, citing the CEO of the company in a statement that says, the perspective is never that we're coming in and injecting diversity. But here, in this particular obscure interview, Kim Belair asserts something entirely different, effectively stating that her whole mission is to do precisely that.
It starts with a dev team has an idea. Maybe they already have an outline of their story and a core gameplay loop. Maybe they've got a whole script and a playable build. Either way, something is missing. This person writes, these problems could involve poor world building and underbaked character, and so on. The team knows something is wrong, but not how to identify or fix it. However, as Kenny empathetically says, Sweet Baby has no actual say on what makes it into the final game. If the dev team disagrees with them on something, the dev team doesn't take the note. It really is that simple. It's not the dev team. It's fucking shareholders and the CEO that are making decisions. It's those people that are making decisions, and the more you force diversity into things, they think the bigger it's going to be, because diversity and all this shit is so big right now.
Her express goal
That's why.
is to, quote, try and build a narrative and a story that include moments and elements custom made to bring representation and joy to people, end quote. Setting aside all personal opinion on that fundamental mission, like it, hate it, skeptical, supportive, I don't care, setting all that aside, that statement juxtaposed against what the media is now saying to defend this company makes absolutely no sense. These are contradictory positions, where the media is condemning the community for not understanding what the company actually does, after the CEO quite literally said her mission is to do the precise thing that she now says never happens. Riddle me that one, Batman. But wait, there's more. I'll have to play this one because it's longer and I don't really want to transcribe the quote and read it all, but just listen to this while keeping in mind that the entire situation is now being deflected under the pretense that Sweet Baby Incorporated does not influence narratives and only does surface level
Sorry, I missed a lot of this stuff.
And a story that include moments and elements custom made to bring representation and joy to people, end quote. Setting aside all personal opinion on that fundamental mission, like it, hate it, skeptical, supportive, I don't care, setting all that aside, that statement juxtaposed against what the media is now saying to defend this company makes absolutely no sense.
No,
these are contradictory positions, where the media is condemning the community for not understanding what the company actually does, after the CEO quite literally said her mission is to do the precise thing that she now says never happens. Riddle me that one, Batman. But wait.
Because if they openly admitted that, it would make them look bad. That's why. Again, that's not a huge thing. Right? Like, if they openly admit what they're actually doing, it's going to make them look bad.
There's more. I'll have to play this one.
Like, it's the same thing. God damn it. Like, imagine if fucking Tesla, and I like Elon Musk, so we'll do Tesla and we'll do Apple. One company I like and one company I don't like. Imagine if they both came out and said, yeah, we use slave labor. Like, everybody knows they do, because that's how they get their shit. But imagine if they just came out and said that. That'd be insane, right?
It's longer, and I don't really want to transcribe the quote and read it all, but just listen to this while keeping in mind that the entire situation is now being deflected under the pretense that Sweet Baby Incorporated does not influence narratives and only does surface-level finishing touches.
And if you're in...
Which, again, was just proven false by literally looking at who writes the fucking story in the game. Like the previous screen he had up, right? Showing the three writers that were like lead designer. I think it was lead writer, junior writer, and then Kim Belair was like the writer. Right?
And you are part of like that dominant voice. You're like a cis hetero white dude or just adjacent to that.
Hold on, what?
Voice, you're like a cis hetero development, and you are part of like that dominant voice. You're like a cis hetero white dude or just adjacent to that.
See, what the fuck does that matter? What does that matter? Also, you have no... I would love to see the stats that they think they have that says most gamers are white, cis, which I personally thought cis and hetero meant the same fucking thing. White male gamers. I would like to see their stats on that. Because the North Americas and a lot of like Western Europe is so diverse. And by the way, what about like China? I don't know how many people in China are white hetero males.
Do not wait until the end to call your consultants. Bring them in at the beginning, and instead of asking them, hey, is this very racist thing we did very racist? Or is this deeply offensive thing we did deeply offensive? Are you hurt by it? Ask them
Who decides what that is?
what they want to see. Like, ask them.
Of course, they're going to say it's deeply offensive because they believe it's deeply offensive. Like this, again, the jumps here aren't big, right? If you believe something is offensive, you're going to say it's offensive. That's how that works.
What would thrill them? What would bring them joy? And if you have a team lead, put that request to them very, very early. If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research,
They're just going to say threaten them.
go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them
Yeah.
with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
They're going to make more money. That's what's going to happen. They're going to make more money.
Because they have to consider, like, I say it all as a joke, but it's actually very, very true, because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing and who have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you can impress upon them.
So the insinuation there is that games who don't have these consultancy firms are not positive. But the games that come out and are actually racist or are actually sexist, and by the way, having, say, a couple main characters and all of them being white is not racist. Or having a couple male characters and having all of them male, say they're also people of color and they're all male, is not sexist. It's not. By definition, it's not.
With both ethically and financially, you could say that this is important.
Yeah.
It's
So
not.
this whole thing blew up because gamers believe that Sweet Baby Incorporated is forcing themselves or their desired perspective into their video games, while Kim Belair in 2019 was advocating that people do exactly that. But now the media is gaslighting everyone by pretending that's not a thing. Forgive me if I'm somehow misinterpreting it.
Well, of course they are, because it's also an agenda that was kind of started by the media, right? Like, normal people don't fucking give a fuck. Normal people don't care. Your average person doesn't give a fuck. They just want a good game to play. That's it. They don't care if every person in the game is black. They don't care if every person in the game is female. Last Epoch has, what, two female characters in it? Out of the five, I think two. Yeah, two. I started as female characters in both of them. I don't care if I play a female character. I want the game to be good.
The chain of events on display here, but that's what I see. This kind of schism between what the media is now pretending and the philosophy that this company actually holds, at least the founder
Because it's strictly a media issue. Again, regular people don't give a fuck.
and CEO very clearly holds, is on full display as soon as you start to do even the most basic level of research, which obviously the media don't believe anyone is actually going to do. From an online blog.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I just said too. Like, they straight up know people are not gonna fact check. People are not gonna actually look into anything. It's such a weird world we live in, where we have all of this information all over. Like, I have a phone, I have another computer there, I have a Switch that has access to the internet, I have an Xbox One, like the original one that has access to the internet, I'm on a computer, I can go to the library and read books. We have all of this information and nobody knows anything about anything.
Blog called Complications Ensue, which Kim Belair spoke to in 2020, we can see, quote, "We have to look at story and narrative as one of the things that we can innovate on. Like when you bring someone in from a different culture, from a different background, from a different gender, they're going to create something that we haven't seen before."
I actually agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I think bringing in somebody, I also, by the way, think it's racist to bring in a black developer or writer and force them to write in the perspective of a white person. I think that is inherently racist. I think that if you bring in a black person, a black writer or developer, they should maybe be put on the job of writing black characters because that's what they know. And I believe the inverse is true as well. If you have white writers and white developers, they should focus on writing stuff for white people, not black people. Because they're different people and culturally they're different. It's a cultural difference. There being cultural differences is not inherently racist. I don't know how else to say that to make that make sense. I don't know anything about black culture because I'm a white person and I don't really... Okay, I hold on. Black culture is not my focus in life. I'm going to be honest, white culture isn't my focus in life. I just want to do my own thing.
The way that we look at demographics is that we go, okay, the majority of our player base is, let's say, a white male. So we're going to make stuff for white males.
Yeah, that makes fucking sense. If you're like...
But if
what?
you make something from the perspective of an Asian trans woman, and it's really strong, then it will work for people. People crave new stories.
Yeah, but people don't give a fuck if they're trans or not. Why does them being trans have to be a thing? Just make it an Asian woman. Make a strong Asian female character and people will love it. The fact that you have to say they're trans fucks it up in people's head and makes them not like it.
If you want to innovate, even to stay.
And not even because people are transphobic, it's because, and there are people that are transphobic, it's because people link the two things together, that because they have to say they're trans, people immediately assume wokeism, and people don't like wokeism.
Stay current. It's not about graphics, it's not about hardware. It's about opening up new perspectives for people.
Yes, I agree. New perspectives should be open up to people.
So
just not in the way they're doing it.
It's important for game development to diversify. It's not just part of advocacy or activism. It is going to make your games better. End quote.
I actually agree. But the issue is what they're saying and what they're doing are not the same thing.
I don't think that really needs to be analyzed. And to be quite clear here, it's not technically wrong. You can absolutely make new games and new characters from new perspectives.
100%, yes.
Amazing. That is absolutely true. But you tell me, does that sound like someone at the ideological helm of a consulting company who wants to leave an existing narrative intact and simply polish it at the end stages? Or does it sound like someone viscerally interested in modifying the base product, being part of its construction since the very beginning, and transforming it into something that they believe is more valuable by fundamentally changing what it actually is?
Yeah, and by them using it as something that's more valuable is also inherently racist. The whole you can't be racist towards white people is a fallacy. White people are the only people you can be openly racist about. And I'm not saying that because I'm offended by it. I personally don't give a fuck. Be racist towards white people all you want. Be racist towards anybody all you want. You can do whatever you want. We live in North America. But it's the issue with their wording. Why is it white, cis, hetero male? What happened to straight white guy? That was the original thing. And then what just happened to white guy? Why is it Asian trans woman? Why is it not just Asian women? If it's a strong Asian woman character, female Asian character, people are not going to have an issue with it.
What it says and who the target audience will be. Seriously.
But it's the wording that makes people upset. It's not the fact that they're trans, it's the wording. And the fact that they have to point out it's trans means it's going to be forced down your throat, and people don't like being force-fed stuff.
Seriously, you tell me. Again, right or wrong, doesn't matter. What does it sound like? Here's my point with all of this. Sweet Baby Inc. is not the root cause of everything wrong in gaming, okay?
No, they are not. And people who are blaming Sweet Baby Inc. as the boogeyman don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because it's not Sweet Baby Inc.'s fault that WoW sucks right now. It's not Sweet Baby Inc.'s fault that D4 sucks. It's not Sweet Baby Inc.'s fault that the multiplayer in fucking Call of Duty is so exhausted. They're not the ones doing that. The game devs are.
It's kind of a ridiculous premise. That's an over-exaggeration that opened the door for this level of disingenuous criticism in the first place. But it is an example of why there are so many problems. If it wasn't this company, it would be a different one, okay? The demand exists on a publisher level, and there's...
Yeah, it would be a different one that are still being hired by these companies, by the way. Again, it's not possible just to infiltrate a company and do whatever you want. That's not how these things work. They're being hired. They're being paid to do these things.
Probably a large number of similar examples.
Because the CEOs and shareholders think that it'll net them more money by appealing to a broader audience, right? That's how that works.
Out there. But we have to be precise when we speak about this, because when we're not precise, it allows gaming media and various different journalists in particular to deliberately twist reality and gaslight their audience. Gamers don't understand, gamers don't get it, etc., etc. That's only possible, saying those things, because at times people are exaggerating the level of influence that Sweet Baby has.
Yes, but also saying, like, it's so funny. This is the same issue that Classic WoW had when it was talked about originally, is that you think you want it, but you don't. It's the people at top, they don't know what they're talking about. How would your entire player base be wrong about the game they want and enjoy? How does that make sense? I can't even wrap my fucking head around how that makes sense. If you were a say you're fucking Apple, right? Or Samsung. Say you make phones, okay? And say you want to take away cameras. Say you just want to say you want to take the front camera away from your phone. Let's say it costs too much money, right? And then everybody's like, no, this is a bad idea. And then you come back and say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you're going to be upset when your sales drop. And then you inevitably put the fucking front camera back in. That's essentially what is happening. We just haven't hit the sales drop yet. Well, we kind of have, because Suicide Squad was a horrendous failure. Whether that was because of how much influence Sweet Baby Inc. maybe had or not doesn't matter. It's that it was a horrendous failure.
If one side says,
and people are going to equate it with Sweet Baby Inc. being involved, regardless of how much involvement they had.
Oh my gosh, this one company is the reason for everything bad in video games. It makes it easy for someone else to respond with, haha, look how delusional they are. This company isn't the reason for every single problem ever in history.
No, they're not.
But when they are knowingly disregarding the fact that this company is a clear-cut example of industry practices that are making a very large number of core customers upset,
they are intentionally going against what the player base, the people who are giving them paychecks. Remember that we're the ones writing the paychecks. They're intentionally going against what they want in the pursuit of like brownie points on Twitter. Because they help to make something more inclusive, so people who don't play video games are going to be happy about it, when it just objectively makes games worse. Like, as an example, right?
Well, I don't know. It's pretty self-explanatory. The end result? Now that the company has Streisanded themselves into oblivion, gaming media has inadvertently exposed its own incompetence yet again, as the two sides argue past each other, each condemning a straw man of their perceived enemy, which is accurate enough to instill passion and inaccurate enough to allow disagreement. Bottom line, Sweet Baby Incorporated, led by Kim Belair, very obviously tries to influence games at a core level, modifying or rewriting them through a diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) lens.
And remember too, in a lot of games, the story fucking sucks. Like, I'm not saying it's entirely Sweet Baby Inc.'s fault, but it is something to note that they on a lot of AAA games, it seems. I mean, I haven't done the research, so I'm also speaking out of my ass. But it seems like a lot of AAA games don't have very good stories, and it seems like they have their fucking fingertips or toes in a lot of AAA games. like Assassin's Creed, like Suicide Squad. I'm sure there's a list of other games. Right? Like, the stories are not good.
But they probably aren't.
Again, though, just to be fucking clear and to make sure it is known, it is not entirely their fault because the major companies are still agreeing to these things.
Always successful. And now over 250,000 people follow a list of games they worked on purely for the purpose of avoiding them, which they caused by trying to get the community and its creator suspended from Steam.
And of course they're going to be upset about that because if anything happens or follows through, they're going to lose money. At the end of the day, it's a purely financial decision that they're defending themselves. This is not hard to think about.
Gaming media, and certain journalists in particular, are jumping around wildly with their own foot stuffed in their ass because they want to defend this company desperately, but the only way to do that is to twist everything around enormously and argue against a position that basically doesn't even exist.
100%. Diversity is not bad. And anybody that says diversity is bad is probably a bad person. Diversity is not bad. It being forced is bad. And it being anything, nobody wants to be force-fed, right? Like, you're like a fucking baby. Okay, with all the other stuff happening with these companies, I shouldn't use that example. You're like... Okay, say like let's use an analogy, right? Like, say you're a small kid and you don't like vegetables, right? Like, a lot of young kids don't like their vegetables. So you eat your fucking meatloaf and mashed potatoes that probably doesn't have any flavoring in it. And then you don't want to eat your broccoli and carrots. But your parents take the fork and force it in your fucking mouth and make you chew for you. Does that make sense? Like, you're not going to be happy about it because you're being force-fed shit you don't want. Which, by the way, that makes you hate that thing so much more. It's having the opposite effect of what they want.
And to argue what they want to argue, they basically have to lie. Ultimately, the Sweet Baby Incorporated disaster is an example of how everyone involved can, and often does, deliberately misunderstand each other to try and make the other side look bad for profit. I'm guilty of it myself, though I do like to think I at least try not to have that issue most of the time.
Yeah, of course it's for profit. The world is run by dollar signs.
I'm sick of talking now.
And if it wasn't run by dollar signs, it'd be run by something else.
To support the video sponsor, of course, thank you to Keeps, we have a spring collection of merchandise, limited edition, expiring.
At the end of the day, everything that happens at a large scale or at a high level is happening because of power. It's not happening because they necessarily agree with things. Like, you don't have to like something to see that there's possibly power in that thing.
Soon, pick one up if you want to. Also, other links as well, a VPN, local
Patreon,
sure. Various ways to support, etc., etc.
So all that stuff makes sense. The Sweet Baby Inc. disaster by Upper Echelon. This is actually a good video. Give him a sub. Yeah, I don't know. Diversity is not the issue, right? It's the being fucking force-fed is the issue. People hate that shit so much. People don't want that. People are sick of it. It's been happening in the gaming industry for so long, and it's not even about like this type of stuff. It's content that people don't want, that developers or gaming companies think they need and are being force-fed down their fucking throat. That just is what it is. Anyways, I am going to end the stream there. I do got to get off now. I got to go eat something. I haven't eaten all day. It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 p.m. I got to eat something. So I am going to end the stream there. I'm going to upload this all to like YouTube and stuff, and hopefully I can start growing some sort of audience. And yeah, it's been good. See ya.